It always starts the same. I wake up, but I can't move. My body is heavy, like it's weighted down by concrete. The room is dark, but I can make out the shapes of my furniture. Then I see it. In the corner, by the closet, a figure forms. It's tall and thin, completely black, like a void in the dim light. It doesn't have any discernible features, just a vague human shape. It doesn't move, but I feel its gaze, a heavy, malevolent presence. The pressure on my chest intensifies, and I can barely breathe. I try to scream, but no sound comes out. I'm trapped, completely helpless, until finally, with a jolt, I can move again. I sit up, heart pounding, drenched in sweat. But the feeling, that chilling sense of being watched, lingers long after. I fell asleep easily enough, but then I was pulled back to consciousness, or something like it. I was in my bed, I knew that, but the room felt different. The walls seemed closer, pressing in on me. Then I heard it. Whispers. Faint at first, then growing louder, swirling around me. I couldn't understand the words, just a constant murmur, like hundreds of voices speaking at once. It felt like they were inside my head, picking at my thoughts, pulling at my fears. I tried to cover my ears, but my arms wouldn't move. The whispers grew more insistent, more urgent, until it felt like my skull was vibrating. Then, just as suddenly as it started, it stopped. I could move again, gasping for air, the silence now deafening. This one was the worst. I woke up, paralyzed as usual, but this time, there was something else. A tingling, crawling sensation all over my body. It started at my toes and slowly crept upwards, like thousands of tiny insects were crawling under my skin. I could feel them moving, their tiny legs brushing against my flesh. The feeling was so intense, so real, that I could almost see them. I thrashed against the invisible restraints, desperate to shake them off, but I was completely helpless. The crawling reached my face, and I felt something brush against my cheek. I squeezed my eyes shut, terrified of what I might see. Finally, I woke up properly, jumping out of bed, frantically checking myself for any sign of the phantom insects. I was dreaming, I think, something about walking through a forest. Then the dream shifted, and I was back in my bed, unable to move. Above me, hovering just inches from my face, was a face. It was vaguely human, but distorted, grotesque. The eyes were too large, the mouth stretched into a wide, unnatural grin. It didn't speak, but its expression was filled with malice, with a kind of hungry anticipation. I felt a wave of pure terror wash over me. I tried to push it away, to scream, but I was frozen, trapped in its gaze. Then, just as I thought I couldn't take it anymore, I woke up. The image of that distorted face burned into my mind. I woke up in the middle of the night, unable to move. My room was dark, but I could see the faint light from the hallway spilling in through the open door. I distinctly remember closing that door before I went to sleep. As I stared at the open doorway, a cold dread settled over me. I felt like something was waiting just beyond, lurking in the shadows. I strained my ears, listening for any sound, but there was only silence. The silence was worse somehow. It felt heavy, expectant. I kept expecting something to emerge from the darkness, some unseen horror to step into my room. I lay there paralyzed with fear, until finally, exhaustion took over and I drifted back to sleep. But the image of that open door and the feeling of being watched stayed with me long after.